And I thought I wanted a magazine that would not try to do what they were doing, which they do exceedingly well. Magazines that would deal with things that people are proud of, uh, with successes, but a magazine that would deal with the positive things in life.
In 1945, John H. Johnson did something that almost no one believed would work. He took out a $500 loan secured by his mother's furniture to launch a magazine that no major publisher thought had a future. His goal? To tell Black stories with pride, glamour, and dignity. Not from the sidelines, not as tragedy, not as novelty, but as the norm. That magazine was Ebony. At the time, the media landscape was a desert for Black America. Life magazine, Time, Vogue, all of them pretended Black life didn't exist unless it was criminal, exotic, or sensational. Johnson knew that wasn't reality. He had grown up in Arkansas and Chicago, surrounded by Black families who worked, loved, built communities, and looked good doing it. He wanted Ebony to reflect that, a world where Black life was elegant, complex, and ordinary, all at once. He knew there was an audience. He had already launched Negro Digest, a Reader's Digest-style booklet that sold well among Black readers. But this was different. Ebony would be glossy, aspirational, high style. It would not ask for permission. It would make Black beauty undeniable. From the start, Johnson modeled Ebony after the glossy pages of life, but with one critical difference. Every face was Black. Movie stars, athletes, business leaders, educators, activists, and everyday people, all styled to perfection, photographed with care, and shown with honor. The first issue dropped in November 1945. It was 25 cents, 25 pages, and a gamble, but the audience showed up. By 1947, Ebony was selling over 300,000 copies a month. The proof was in the pages. Black readers wanted to see themselves reflected, not distorted in the media. What made it work? It wasn't just the photos or the headlines. It was the vision. Ebony didn't try to make Black life palatable for white readers. It made Black life powerful for Black readers. It said, "This is who we are, this is what we look like, and we are beautiful." John H. Johnson didn't just launch a magazine, he launched a movement and changed how Black America saw itself. From day one, Ebony wasn't just about publishing a magazine, it was about rewriting the story. Mainstream media painted Black America with one brush: criminal, poor, uneducated, or invisible altogether. But inside Ebony's glossy pages, readers saw something radically different: celebration, normalcy, glamour, joy. John H. Johnson's mission was clear: show Black life as it truly was, diverse, dynamic, and dignified. He believed representation wasn't just important, it was powerful. And Ebony made sure to show the full range. Families at home, professionals at work, artists creating, activists organizing, couples falling in love, students graduating, business owners building wealth. It wasn't about erasing struggle, it was about redefining what was worth showcasing. Instead of pain being the only narrative, Ebony spotlighted the possibility. Every month, Ebony dropped into Black households like a gift. The covers were bold and intentional. Lena Horne, Sidney Poitier, Coretta Scott King, Muhammad Ali, Oprah Winfrey. These were not tokens, these were icons. They weren't framed as rare exceptions, they were examples of what was possible. And the articles? They weren't fluff. They included in-depth features on Black entrepreneurship, family dynamics, civil rights, education, travel, and wellness, all through the lens that respected the reader's intelligence and identity. One of Johnson's boldest moves was not making the magazine about whiteness. Unlike other publications targeting Black readers, Ebony didn't obsess over white acceptance or integration. It centered Blackness without apology. You didn't need a white cosign to be important. You were already worthy. Even the advertisements reinforced the mission. Black models sold makeup, cars, clothes, and appliances, everything you'd find in life or look, but with faces that looked like the readers. That too was revolutionary. It told readers, you belong in every space. Johnson once said, "We wanted to give Blacks a new sense of somebodyness, a new sense of self-respect." And that's exactly what Ebony did. Month after month, cover after cover. It wasn't just a magazine, it was a mirror. And for millions of readers, it was the first time that mirror reflected something beautiful and true. By the early 1950s, Ebony was thriving, but John H. Johnson saw a gap in the media landscape. Monthly magazines were beautiful and in-depth, but slow. What Black communities needed now was speed, something portable, digestible, and immediate. So, in 1951, he launched Jet. It was small, literally, pocket-sized, 8 by 5 inches. Easy to slide into a purse, briefcase, or back pocket. But what it lacked in size, it made up for in impact. Jet was built for urgency. Every week, it delivered news that mattered to Black readers. Politics, crime, celebrity gossip, sports, entertainment, religion, international affairs. It was quick, sharp, and unapologetically Black. And where Ebony captured elegance, Jet captured energy. You could find Jet in barbershops, beauty salons, church pews, corner stores, waiting rooms, everywhere. It became a fixture in Black life. The issue may have been thin, but the content hit hard and fast. At its peak, Jet reached nearly 1 million weekly readers. What made Jet revolutionary wasn't just what it covered, but how. It reported on stories white media ignored or distorted. It was called racism plainly. It didn't soften injustice or sanitize the truth, and it celebrated Black achievement with regularity and pride. It documented protests, rallies, court cases, and cultural shifts in real time. For many readers, Jet was where they first saw photos of key civil rights leaders, Black college graduates, or victims of police violence. And of course, Jet's most iconic tradition was the Beauty of the Week, a full-page photo of a Black woman in a swimsuit, smiling confidently. While some critics saw it as objectifying, for many readers it was radical affirmation. In a world that rarely centered Black beauty, Jet did it every single week. The models were nurses, teachers, secretaries, and everyday women elevated to star status. It became a cultural institution, something to look forward to argue about, to admire. Jet was fast, fierce, and fearless. It gave Black readers a tool to stay informed and connected, not just to each other, but to the truth. Where Ebony was the celebration, Jet was the pulse. On September 15, 1955, Jet magazine published something that changed American history. It wasn't a celebrity interview, it wasn't a music review, it was a photograph. The body of 14-year-old Emmett Till is swollen, beaten, unrecognizable, lying in an open casket. Till had traveled from Chicago to visit family in Mississippi. Days later, he was abducted, tortured, and lynched, accused of whistling at a white woman, Carolyn Bryant. The brutality of the murder was horrific, but what came next was even shocking. The killers were acquitted by an all-white jury. They would later admit to the crime in a paid interview. Emmett's mother, Mamie Till Mobley, made a decision that would shake the nation. She held an open casket funeral and invited the world to witness.
But it wasn't just about profits, it was about dignity. Johnson made it clear, advertising wasn't a handout, it was a partnership. And if a brand wanted access to Black dollars, they needed to show up with respect. That principle created a new standard. His distribution strategy was just as revolutionary. He leaned into the networks that white media overlooked: Black churches, HBCUs, beauty salons, barbershops, civic groups, fraternities, sororities, and independent bookstores. This grassroots model ensured the magazines reached the people who mattered, not just those with elite access. The ripple effect was enormous. Johnson's success in advertising forced the industry to reckon with the reality of the Black economy. He proved that visibility wasn't just good politics, it was good business. He didn't just bring ad dollars into Black media, he redefined how companies saw Black consumers as valuable, loyal, and worth every cent. In doing so, he transformed Ebony and Jet into more than publications. They became proof that Black culture could not only influence the market, it could be the market. Before Ebony and Jet, beauty was defined by whiteness. Straight hair, light skin, thin noses. Eurocentric features were the standard in media, in Hollywood, in advertising, and by extension, in the world.
John H. Johnson had no interest in repeating that narrative. Instead, Ebony and Jet redefined beauty on their own terms. They didn't just include Black beauty, they centered it, and not just one type. They celebrated the full spectrum: dark skin, broad noses, kinky hair, full lips. From high-fashion models to high school graduates, the message was consistent: Black is beautiful. Ebony covers featured legends like Diane Carroll, Pam Grier, Cicely Tyson, and Angela Davis. But inside the pages, the beauty extended beyond celebrities. Everyday Black women were photographed in lush spreads, beaming in bridal gowns, posing in fashion features, or simply living their lives with confidence. And Jet's Beauty of the Week was its own revolution. Week after week, a different woman, often a college student, nurse, teacher, or entrepreneur, was featured in a swimsuit, smiling proudly. She might be curvy, slim, dark-skinned, light-skinned, but she was always radiant. For many Black women, it was the first time they saw someone who looked like them treated as desirable, confident, and celebrated. It wasn't just a visual representation, it was a cultural reclamation. In the 1960s and 70s, as the Black Power movement gained momentum, Ebony and Jet embraced it. Afros became common on the cover. Dashikis, African prints, and natural hair were showcased with pride. They weren't trends, they were statements: political, cultural, and spiritual. Even the beauty tips and ads reflected this shift. Articles promoted natural hairstyles and skincare tones for dark skin tones, information rarely found elsewhere at the time. The magazines gave readers not only the imagery, but the tools to embrace their identities fully. It mattered because when a generation of Black children flipped through these magazines, they saw a different mirror. Not one that distorted or diminished them, but one that told the truth. You are enough. You are beautiful. You are the standard. They didn't ask for permission. They created the culture and made it iconic. By the 1970s and 80s, Ebony and Jet weren't just popular, they were institutions. At their peak, Ebony reached over 2 million readers a month. Jet was a weekly ritual in nearly every Black household. Being featured in either was a badge of honor. Landing the cover of Ebony, that was a cultural coronation. These were the magazines that captured Black excellence in its full glory. And they didn't just document fame, they helped create it. From entertainers like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Prince, and Aretha Franklin, to leaders like Jesse Jackson, Shirley Chisholm, and Colin Powell, Ebony and Jet made them household names. Not because they were Black despite the odds, but because they were Black and at the top of their game. The pages were filled with success stories of doctors, scientists, inventors, athletes, and entrepreneurs. These weren't sidebars, they were front and center. The message was clear: Black achievement is not an anomaly, it's the norm. And it wasn't just about people. The magazines showcased Black lifestyles, luxury travel, home decor, weddings, art, health, parenting, and finance. Ebony became a kind of cultural blueprint, a celebration of what life could look like when dreams were realized and barriers were broken. Spin-offs added to the empire. Ebony Jr. inspired younger readers. The Ebony Fashion Fair became a traveling phenomenon, raising millions for charity while showcasing Black designers and models. Special editions, yearbooks, and calendars expanded the brand's reach into every corner of Black life. The Jet Beauty of the Week became iconic, but so did its living pioneers, Black firsts, and tributes to HBCUs and civil rights heroes. It was part archive, part celebration, part roadmap. At the height of their influence, Ebony and Jet weren't just magazines, they were mirrors and monuments. They told readers, this is who we are, this is how far we've come, and this is what's possible.
For Black America, they offered something precious and rare: proof. Proof that we were thriving, that we were beautiful, that we were unstoppable. And for decades, that proof arrived in the mailbox every week, every month, without fail. As the 2000s rolled in, Ebony and Jet were still iconic, but the media landscape was shifting under their feet. The rise of the internet, 24-hour cable news, and social media changed everything. And for the first time, the Johnson publishing empire started to stumble. The cracks weren't immediately visible. Print sales were still decent, the brand still had weight, but behind the scenes, the old model was straining. Ad revenue began to decline, distribution costs soared, and readers, especially younger ones, were turning to digital platforms for faster, free content. While other media giants pivoted to the web, Ebony and Jet lagged behind. Their websites were outdated, social media presence was minimal, and most critically, their leadership underestimated just how quickly the digital revolution would cannibalize print. In 2005, founder John H. Johnson passed away at age 87. It marked the end of an era. His daughter, Linda Johnson Rice, stepped in, but by then, the media world was moving too fast for the legacy systems in place. By the early 2010s, circulation was down dramatically. Jet went digital only in 2014, ending its iconic print run. Ebony tried to rebrand itself for millennials, adding more celebrity gossip, experimenting with edgier design, but it never regained its foothold. The core audience aged, and the younger one never fully connected. Meanwhile, new outlets like The Root, Blavity, Essence Online, and social media influencers were delivering Black news and culture in real time, faster, fresher, and with stronger digital DNA. And then came the layoffs, the lawsuits, reports of unpaid freelancers and missed payrolls. The once mighty Johnson Publishing Company was bleeding. What was once the blueprint had become the cautionary tale. It wasn't just a business decline, it felt personal. For generations who grew up with Ebony and Jet, watching them fade was like watching a part of Black cultural memory disappear. These weren't just magazines, they were family traditions, time capsules, legacy, and now they were losing their place in the conversation. The empire hadn't crumbled all at once, but the foundation had begun to crack, and the digital age wasn't waiting for anyone to catch up. By the mid-2010s, the fall of Ebony and Jet had gone from gradual decline to public crisis. What was once the gold standard of Black media now made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Missed paychecks, mounting lawsuits, and a messy unraveling that felt unthinkable just a decade earlier. In 2016, Johnson Publishing Company sold Ebony and Jet to a private equity firm, Clearview Group, a move that many hoped would stabilize things. But instead, it triggered more chaos. Staff were cut, budgets slashed, deadlines missed, and the editorial direction began to lose coherence. The soul of the brand felt compromised. Worse, freelance writers, the lifeblood of digital journalism, began speaking out. By 2017 and 2018, dozens of contributors revealed they hadn't been paid for months. The hashtag EbonyOs became a rallying cry on Black Twitter. The same magazine that once elevated Black voices was now silencing them through broken contracts and unpaid labor. Then came 2019. Johnson Publishing Company, now reduced to a shell, filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. It was the final blow. Offices were closed, archives locked up, generations of institutional memory were boxed away. For longtime readers, it was surreal. How did Ebony, the magazine that once crowned Black excellence, end up auctioning off its furniture? The sale of the photo archives in 2020 was both heartbreaking and hopeful. The collection of over 4 million images documenting Black history was nearly lost to the highest bidder, but a consortium of Black foundations, including the Getty Trust and the Ford Foundation, stepped in to purchase it for $30 million, vowing to preserve it and digitize it for public access. That move felt like a rescue mission, not just for journalism, but for history. Still, the damage was done. The brand was bruised, the trust was shaken, and what had once been a symbol of empowerment now carried the weight of a cautionary tale, of legacy neglected, of digital disruption ignored, and of cultural institutions left vulnerable in a fast-changing world. Ebony and Jet weren't just magazines, they were memories, and their implosion left a void no one else could quite fill. When Johnson Publishing Company collapsed in 2019, there was one asset no one wanted to see lost: the photo archives. 4 million images, 70 years of history, the most comprehensive visual documentation of Black American life in the 20th century. Weddings, protests, funerals, galas,
baptisms, inaugurations, beauty pageants, family portraits, revolutions. For decades, these images were kept in the temperature-controlled vault inside the company's Chicago headquarters. The collection was so vast and valuable, the Library of Congress once called it a national treasure. And now, it was in danger of being sold off, piece by piece. In 2020, a coalition of organizations, including the Ford Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, the Mellon Foundation, and the Getty Trust, came together with one mission: save the archive. They raised $30 million to purchase it outright, with the promise to digitize every image and make it publicly accessible. Not just to scholars and journalists, but to families, students, teachers, anyone who wanted to understand Black America through its own lens. This wasn't just a preservation project, it was an act of cultural justice. Because for all the ways Ebony and Jet had stumbled in the digital age, their true value had never faded. These magazines had captured everyday life with dignity. They had photographed the firsts, the funerals, the fashion, the families. They had told stories no one else was telling, not just the milestones, but the moments in between. And now, those stories would live on, not in dusty storage, but in digital permanence. Today, institutions like the Smithsonian and Getty are working to catalog and share this archive, image by image. It's slow work, but sacred work. Each photo restored is a memory returned. Each caption digitized is a piece of identity reclaimed. For younger generations, this archive will be more than history. It will be a mirror, a reminder of what was built and what must be protected. Because if Ebony and Jet taught us anything, it's this: Black stories matter, and they deserve to be told by those who lived them and saved by those who understand their power. The fall of Ebony and Jet wasn't just the end of two magazines. It was the end of an era that shaped how Black America saw itself and how the world saw Black America. What we lost was more than print pages. We lost consistency. The ritual of opening a magazine and seeing your community reflected, not in tragedy or stereotype, but in celebration. We lost the ability to chronicle our own stories, uninterrupted, month after month, year after year. We lost an institution that was once the heartbeat of Black media. But in that loss, we also found something else: legacy. Because the truth is, Ebony and Jet never really disappeared. Their pages might have stopped printing, their offices might have closed, but their impact, it's everywhere. You can see their fingerprints on every Black-owned digital outlet today, from Blavity to The Root, from social media creators to niche podcasts. The blueprint lives on. The confidence to tell Black stories on our terms came from Ebony and Jet doing it first and doing it boldly. We also keep the archive. The 4 million photographs saved from obscurity are not just historical records, they are cultural lifelines. Proof that we were here, that we lived, loved, created, built, fought, won, and that our lives were worthy of being documented with care.